Welcome to the NFL show on the S.O.S podcast network. It is good to be back. What a week 9. What a trade deadline, Joe. We're going to get into all of it and, of course, our picks and our look ahead for week 10. Once again, this is the NFL show on the Sauter on Sports podcast network. I am Mark Sauter. He is Java Joe, and it is so good to be back. Before we get into the ads, before we get into all that other stuff, I want to know, Joe, how we doing on a football Wednesday, brother? It's good to see you.
Listen, I haven't seen you since the World Series is over, and I just want to give you my condolences to the boys. I think they gave it a really, really good fight, and honestly, they really deserved everything they had come to them this year. They overachieved on a massive level. Kudos to them. Patchwork job on the pitching staff, and guys came through. I think all hands on deck. They did a great job. Just came up a little short this year, but I'm looking forward to them next year. Looking forward to another battle for the AL East. And let's see if they can keep some of the good guys and maybe make a run at some of the better guys.
Well, yeah, I mean, Shane Bieber opted into his contract, which was not expected. I think the whole conversation was 16 mil. Not only was he pretty good during the regular season when he came back in August, but by all accounts, he had a pretty good postseason overall.
Yeah. Postseason was solid. I wouldn't put that homer on him too much. I mean, that's a lot of.
Me neither.
He was coming in there, trying to help the bullpen, trying to, keep the season going for you guys. So I think one little blip in the radar. I think he was solid. He was solid by all.
We'll see what happens. I'll just say, we'll see what happens. I said that. I'll say this real quick. I said this on the MLB show on Monday, and I'll just say it again. And we'll have some baseball shows throughout the winter. I think I can say this, not from a Blue Jays lens. I watch a lot of sports, and I've learned how to be objective in certain things. Not always, but in certain things. That was the best World Series I've ever seen. And the high of watching that, like, I almost sent this tweet out. I forgot to, but it was on my mind. Like, I was watching, what was I watching? I was watching a hockey game on Monday night, and I'm just thinking, like, watching any sport right now. Like, I was watching Colts Pittsburgh on Sunday afternoon, which was a good game. Like, I enjoyed it, except watching regular season sports right now is just like, you know what I mean? I just feel like I had like the best liquor, and now I'm drinking from the bottom of the bottom shelf. You know what I mean? And it's like, you know what I'm saying? I just
from
feel like
ends to just
dude. I just went from like Grey Goose to like Polar Ice. No disrespect to Polar Ice, but and I haven't had vodka in a long time, so maybe Polar Ice is good now. But regardless, thank you, man. I appreciate it. It still stings. I lay awake in bed every night thinking about it, and that's not a joke. And I literally think about it all the time. It's ruined my life.
I'll say this. The one thing that I do think about is if old buddy just had a lead off of third base. That's the one thing. That's the one thing I think about. Outside of that,
well, what's forgotten, Joe, is in game 6, if that ball doesn't get stuck under the fence, it's a tie game, or at least
valid.
A 1-run game with no out, and we see what happens, right? Now, they had 2 guys on base, no out. I get it. But, like, even just that, like, that has nothing to do with the Blue Jays or the Dodgers. That's just a ball getting stuck in the fence. Like, just, like, and then I can't remember what game it was. It was game 4 or 5 where Vladdy had a dive at home plate. And like some like witchcraft, like dove over the hand and topped the plate. Like, just like, I want to win a game in the World Series. I like IKF for what it is, for what he is.
Yeah.
You've had him. Like, he's
Yeah, we've
useful.
had him. Yeah. He plays a
He's
lot of
useful
different
for,
positions. He can
yeah,
fill a lot
he's
of holes
useful.
for you.
Yeah, he's useful for what he's useful for.
Yeah.
But that slide just seemed like a Tuesday in June. You know what I mean? Like, it didn't
Okay.
seem like
I feel
I'm
what
about to win the World Series. Anyway, I can't get myself back into this.
No, I feel you. I
But
feel you.
anyway, I appreciate you, man. Once again, the NFL show, SOS Podcast Network. Before we get started, let everybody know this show is brought to you by First Round Collectibles. Right now, promo code SPORTS10 gets you 10% off whatever sports card you want in the entire First Round Collectibles store. They have an ongoing sale up to 50% off multiple cards in the First Round Collectible store. And with our promo code SPORTS10, not only do you get 10% off of regular price items, but sales items as well. That's 10% off of any card and up to 60% off selected cards. Go to firstroundcollectibles.com today, promo code SPORTS10 for 10% off your order. And Total Apex Sports, Total Apex Media, hockey, basketball, baseball, football, whether it's sports betting, whether it's fantasy, DFS, or you just want to know about the games, they have you covered. Total Apex Media, health, fitness, lifestyle, pop culture, uh, video games, TV shows. They have everything over there as well. And we always appreciate them having us on board. I know for the football show, especially, a lot of our viewers come from Total Apex. So we really appreciate that. All right, let's get into it. A week 9, pretty good week 9 overall. Lots of storylines as always. Where do you want to go first, Joe? Because I like, you can correct me if I'm wrong about this. I know enough about football to host a show and to have opinions, but you're the football guy here. Football trade deadline to me is usually an afterthought. Like, I don't really even think about it. I feel like the trades are like whatever, like a third rounder for a guy. Like, it doesn't, usually speaking, generally speaking. And, it's not like, baseball, contenders are expected to go out and make a trade, expected to add to the bullpen, to add to whatever, add a bat, add an arm. In hockey, it is wanted, but not always possible because of the salary cap and other, different issues. In basketball, it can be chaotic, but that's just because nobody's happy where they are and they just all want to leave and go off to La La Land somewhere. The grass is always greener. In the NFL, it just feels like it would be nice. This trade deadline was the most captivating one, at least for me, on multiple fronts. And then you have the actual games. So where do you want to start, man? You want to start Sunday, or should we talk a little trade deadline? Because it was fascinating to me in multiple levels.
I'd like to get into some of the games first.
Okay.
I mean, the trade deadline. I do agree with you. The trade deadline's usually like, you don't typically get an in-season franchise altering type decisions in mid-season. Usually those things are saved for in the off season, right before draft, where where the draft compensation's going to be. I guess you could have some sort of idea of where it's going to be halfway through the season if you're, like, say, the Jets. Where their picks are
Right.
going to be at the
Yeah,
end of the
yeah,
year. But like other teams, you could be middle of the pack, could be at the end of the pack. One team may go on a run and their own picks may be towards the bottom. But yeah, so I will say there's been significant movement there. But in talking about the games, I think some really neat things that happened this weekend. And I'll start with a team who has scored 80 points in the last 2 weeks. 38 last week,
Yeah,
42
yeah.
this week, and somehow still managed to lose both games. And I mean, listen, I don't know as a coach whose trade is the offensive side of the ball. I don't know what you have to do as a coach to kind of like understand what's going on that side of the ball. Like, listen, Zach Taylor is responsible for the whole team. He is the head coach. So that means offense, defense, special teams, it all falls on him. But one thing that I say all the time, as you can can attest to, um, is that if your side of the ball is doing the job, you have a much better chance at keeping your job than not, right? And his offense is scoring 40 points a game in the last 2 games with their fourth different starting quarterback, I think, this year. So I don't know what else he needs to do on his side of the ball, but that defense is insufferable, unsalvageable. And the crazy part is nothing happened in the trade deadline that shows any sign of hope coming down in the future. So I that's a really tough room to be in. And the offense, I can tell you, has had it. You got wide receivers coming off the field pissed that their defense can't get one stop. You got the starting running back being asked about it at the end of the game, and he can't understand why they can't get one stop. So it's definitely a very um interesting environment right now in that Bengals locker room. And I'm going to be very interested to see how it looks moving forward, because the Steelers just waxed the Colts this weekend. Okay. And that to me says something about what that team's going to look like towards the end of the year. If their defense can match the offense's energy, well, guess what? The defense matched the offense's energy this weekend.
Yes.
And it may be the last time we see the Colts look that way, which we'll get to.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
But those are just some interesting things happening in the AFC North. You thought the Bengals might have a shot because the Steelers would go down that soon, but we saw two very opposite things happen. And you know what? The Ravens may have something to say about it in the end with their improvement on defense as well.
Well, and what's frustrating for the Bengals, I mean, there's a million things frustrating with the Bengals, and they're all on the defensive side of the football. I think, like, you felt that Jake Browning wasn't giving you the best chance to win games without Joe Burrow. So you went out and you got Joe Flacco. And the defense has been god awful all year long. And you have done nothing. Nothing. And I don't know what they could have done. I don't know what it would have cost to do anything. That defense has been so bad. I'm not sure that one player fixes it. So I'm not saying that, but there's just this focus on we got to survive. The offense has to survive without Joe Burrow. Listen, maybe with Joe Burrow there, the defense plays differently. I have no idea. However, if you have the exact same defensive the exact same defense show up and you have Joe Burrow, you're still losing all these games. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, it is they lose to the, or they beat the Browns in week 1, 17-16. And I don't remember all the little details. What I do remember is that the Browns should have won that football game. I remember that. The Browns should have won that football game. There's some kicker mishaps and some other things in there. The Browns should have won that game and the Bengals should have lost. The next week, they beat the Jags 31-27. And here's where it starts. 27 points. Now, only allowing 16 points to the Browns is meaningless because it's the Browns, and we've seen what the Browns are on the offensive side of the football. You give up 48 to the Vikings, 28 to Denver, 37 to Detroit, 27 to Green Bay, 31 to the Steelers, 39 to the Jets and 47 to the Bears. Those last two games, what you just mentioned. Now listen, for the Bears in Mark Sauter's brain are the unfortunate victims of I don't care that you scored that many points because you played the Bengals. Good for you. Hip hip hooray. Caleb Williams was awesome. In my league, I played Caleb Williams in my fantasy league, and the way that our scoring is, he put up 50 points on me. So, tip your cap. And I'm not saying what the Bears didn't matter. That was an unnecessary shot at the Bears.
Catching strays.
Yeah.
Just for this thing.
Yeah. But this defense has been so bad all year, and what Joe Flacco has brought to your team, you should be 500, over 500. You should be 5-4 right now. And instead, you're 3-6. Your season, for all intents and purposes, is over. And that leads me to my next point, kind of jumping to the trade deadline conversation a little bit, and then we'll jump back to the games. What is Henderson still doing on that roster? Like, the guy's a free agent at the end of the season. By all accounts, from rumors that I have heard, I am not connected in the least. He's not staying. So why is he still here? It makes no sense to me. Your defense is abysmal now. It'll be abysmal when he leaves. Get something for the guy. He's one of the best in the league at what he does. What are we doing?
Valid and kind of valid, but also if we know that, if us, layman's people know that he's leaving and that he's not going to be coming back, then rest assured the other 31 teams also know that too.
That's fair.
So I mean, their asking price probably did not meet what was coming in, and if I'm a team looking to try to get him, like, am I really paying top dollar when I could probably get him just outright when the season's over? So it's kind of like,
yeah, I get what you're saying, Joe. My point is, if he is leaving, and if you know he's leaving, that there's no, and I don't know this, if there's no chance that he's staying or whatever, then he is worth what people are willing to pay. Get something. I would rather a third round pick or a 4 or whatever than just him walking out the door. I'm missing the playoffs regardless. I might as well get like a Big Mac for it. You know what I mean? Like, if you know what I mean? Like,
no, not the Big Mac.
Like, yeah, I'm about a Big Mac. Except I've been getting a double Mac lately, which is just unnecessary, but that's a whole other conversation.
No, I get what you're saying. I just one, if you do that now, especially like right now, what does that say to the locker room, right? You've already, I think it's pretty obvious you've got a separated locker room between offense and defense. I don't think anyone on the defense can be feeling particularly great about your offensive players calling you out in the media. And then on the other side, on the offensive side, I don't think you could be feeling pretty great that you've scored 80 points in the last 2 games and have lost both games. So like, that's gotta be a fractured locker room right now. And it's going to take yeoman's work for Zach to keep the peace in that locker room and keep them aligned and, trying to finish the season. Because listen, again, Steelers can still do that late season swoon, even though it looks far from it with what we saw against the Colts this weekend. And then the Ravens are still clawing from the bottom to try to get to some sort of competition with the Steelers themselves. So it's not completely written out of the books. So maybe that's why you don't sell on your best defensive player, for whatever that means on this defense. You probably don't want to even further fracture that locker room by giving up the only defensive player you have, um, that could be, any kind of impact.
Yeah. And it's a hard position to be in. Not that I want to talk about the Bengals for the whole show, but it's a hard position to be in when you have literal generational talents in Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase. You have T. Higgins, who I would say is one step below a generational talent. He's an incredible receiver, not quite that, Justin Jefferson, Jamar
Yeah.
Chase
But he
kind of
definitely
tier.
put one anywhere else,
Oh, absolutely.
that didn't have
Absolutely.
like a JJ already, or you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. Chase Brown, I think, is a very good running back. I don't think he's reaching his full potential this season, whether that's his fault or the scheme or the coaching, whatever. Um, but that defense needs to be stripped down and rebuilt, and like the coaching staff needs to be overhauled. Like it's just it's a really tough position to be in. Before we leave the AFC North, um, the Pittsburgh Steelers are hilarious to me. We talked about this last week, where before the season started, all of the concerns were on the offense. All of the concerns were on Aaron Rodgers. For me, it was okay. DK Metcalf is sick, but like they're both divas. You're with Mike Tomlin. Your running back room is fine, but like the guy in Najee Harris, he's gone. Kind of. I mean, I'm an Eagles fan. I love Kenneth Gainwell, but like I don't really know what we're doing. And the offense has been pretty good. It's the defense that's been the problem. It's the defense that's been the issue. And they must have watched the show last week because the defense was outstanding on Sunday.
Yeah, definitely agreed. I mean, they really made it a point that if the Colts were gonna beat them, they were gonna completely make Daniel Jones be the one that beats them. And so they took Jonathan Taylor completely out of the game. He only had 45 yards during that game, and it felt like just early. That second quarter just felt like an eternity for me watching the game. Just like the way the Steelers were just in control of that quarter, it was just like the turnovers galore. It was like watching an old version of Daniel Jones show up on this particular day, and I was like, oh yeah, you guys haven't seen this yet, but I've had 6-7 years worth of watching this. So welcome to the New York Giants version of Daniel Jones. Only even in those games that he threw the multiple picks like that, his stats still did not look as great as they did. He's still 31 of 50 and a ton. So like he didn't decorate a shitty tree for us like he did for them. You know what I mean? Like he
Yeah.
actually, still performed, but
Yeah. I mean, they were in the game right till the end. Like they were in the game.
Still in there to the end. So I gotta say, so kudos to the Steelers on that. They're one of the teams that didn't make a huge move, but they did pluck Kyle Duggar from the Patriots. And Kyle Duggar was a very productive player for the Patriots in the Belichick Mayo era of the Patriots defense. And just in this particular scheme that Vrabel runs, he just got phased out, by younger guys and guys who are
Yeah.
just more adept to his system. So they're getting a quality player. It's not like he's cooked or he's washed by any means. So for them to improve the back end of that defense, which again, part of the problem, Elliott goes down with injury. The back end of that defense struggled the majority of the season. So I think it's a pretty solid pickup. We'll see how he fits Tomlin's scheme. We'll see how he fits the defense moving forward, see if they get some improvement there. But early returns on the defense is that they're showing improvement and headed in the right direction. And they got a pretty dynamite matchup against the Chargers coming up that I think will be conducive to another successful game.
Absolutely. And I mean, 3 picks, 5 sacks. That was a game that defense needed. They needed a game like that. And they needed a win like that too, because, Cincinnati, we've established they are out of the picture. They shouldn't be, but they are. And Baltimore, listen, they put a beat down on the Dolphins, which they needed to, and they should have. But they won, so they're 3-5, and the Steelers needed a win to keep that lead. They still have a 2-game lead, so big win for the Steelers. The other place I wanted to go with this is staying in the North, but jumping over to the NFC. Mm-hmm. And in a division where, now I'll just say this straight up, I don't whatever. This is my opinion. Just take it for what it's worth. I think the Bears are not a good team. I don't. I don't think they're a good team. I watched them. That was an insane game on Sunday, but I'm not in love with the Bears in any way. However, Green Bay 5-2-1. That tie against Dallas becomes very important since they didn't win the game. They're 5-2-1. Detroit and Chicago both 5-3. And on the surface, Detroit is a much better team than the Bears are. That's a game against the Vikings that you have to win. The Vikings are 4-4 as well. And all of a sudden, this AFC North, the NFC North has become a bit of a crapshoot. And the Packers, I don't know what are we doing with this Packers team, Joe? Like I don't, because okay. All right, this is my opinion. I feel like the Packers are playing with their food every game. I feel like they are acting like a team that can get into the playoffs and the real work starts in January. Kind of like the Chiefs do, kind of like whatever. The problem is that's just the vibe that I get from the Packers. They have this cockiness, this swagger, like we can just roll in and, win a ball game. They haven't done anything to justify that attitude. And it just feels like a game against the Panthers, who are 5-4, by the way. Right? Yeah. Is it 5-4?
Yep.
5-4, but right. They're right there. They're in the mix. I'm not saying that, like, there are worse teams in the NFL than the Panthers now. That hasn't been the case. It's been up for debate. But the Panthers, I'm not saying they're a good team, but they're not like a walkover. And it just feels like the Packers are the most inconsistent good team in football right now. And this division, to me, the Packers and the Lions should be 1A, 1B. And they're just leaving this division wide open for the taking. And I'm really curious to see. We're going to talk about Monday Night Football, the Eagles and Packers. I'm really curious to see how this Packers team, because even like the Lions, yes, the Lions haven't won anything, but they've at least strung together, consecutive seasons of dominance, regular season dominance, where we've gotten to the place where the playoffs do matter more, where the Packers, I don't feel like they've earned, and obviously they want to win every game. I'm not saying that they're not trying.
I know what you're saying.
Like, you know what I mean?
Haven't earned the right to be bored during the regular season.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, we're just gonna turn it on in December when it gets cold. Like, yeah,
exactly.
I get what you're saying.
Yeah, and like I get frustrated by like my team, like the Eagles do this, and it drives me insane. The Eagles have been to 2 Super Bowls in the last 3 years, and like they won one. So, it's a big difference. What's your take on this division? What's your I just the division? You could go a million different ways with it. I think the last thing I'll say in regards to the Bears, I do not think they are a good team. However, they're winning ball games. And as long as the Lions and the Packers continue to lose ball games, the Bears are right there to take this division. And I don't think they will based on their track record. But the Packers and the Lions haven't said anything about it yet. And I'm just curious how this goes. So yeah, what's your take on the? I didn't realize I'd be so heated about the North. That's how I feel. Where are you at with this division?
Well, the North remembers. I'll say this. They had a guy run 176 yards this weekend. A
Yep.
7th round pick, mind you. Shout out to my boy Joshua Valdez, who's a Rutgers alum. He loves him some Kyle. I told him to pick him up this weekend because they were playing the Bengals. So the odds are he was gonna do well. I hope he listened. But yeah, so I think the thing with the Bears is that, and this is at the end of the day what's most important. They're finding ways to win football games. All right. And these were the games under Eberflus last year that they found ways to lose them. Their offensive line is easily top 5 in the league. I think their offensive line has been the most consistent since Caleb's been there. I will say Caleb himself hasn't been completely consistent. But the offense as a whole has been clicking because they're kind of molding it into what Ben Johnson had in Detroit. He had a 2-back system in Detroit. Kyle's getting carries even with DeAndre Swift on the team. It just so happens that DeAndre's hurt right now, and so is Roschon Johnson, who's their 3rd back. So Kyle got the lion's share of the carries, and he made use of it because, again, the Bengals. So slowly but surely, Ben's probably like a year off from completely having this offense set up exactly the way he wants it. As far as having his 2-back system, having a quarterback that operates the offense consistently on a week-to-week basis. I think another year of experience for Caleb, like next year, he's going to be crazy. But right now, he's still working out the kinks like a rookie quarterback would. Even though this is his 2nd year, but I mean, Eberflus kind of really screwed him up last year. So I count this as kind of like a reset for him. So they're finding ways to win football games. Their defense is not great, but they're solid. So they're like, I would say, middle of the pack, on the verge of maybe top 10. So that's affording them the ability to again use the run game, try to control the clock. And I think they're going to be much more improved. I still think they're a year out. As far as Minnesota's concerned, I think it was very surprising to see McCarthy do what he did this weekend. I was actually
Yeah.
very surprised to see how he was cooking this weekend. And it shows that, hey, sometimes you need to sit, take a step back, and watch what's going on. Listen, Bryce had the same experience last year. Sat behind Dalton a couple of games. Dalton gets hurt or was ineffective, and then he ends up getting QB1 again, and he finished out the season great, and he's carried it on to this season. There are more games where he's good than he's not. Do I think that Young's there? I don't think he's there yet, but he's growing towards it. McCarthy has a runway. He knows it's going to be him. Wentz is out. They probably should get a veteran in there just in case he gets hurt again. But he knows it's going to be his show, and he's going to take this time from here until the end of the season to really give them a view as to where they are as a football team on the offensive side of the ball. I don't think they do it this year. I don't think the Bears do it this year. I still think it's a 2-team race between Green Bay and Detroit, and I think the most consistent of the 2 teams will end up taking first place in the division. And we'll see where that ends up. I will say that offensively speaking, we're starting to see kind of the turnover thing creep up again with Love. only had an interception against the Panthers this weekend. No touchdowns. All their scoring went through the running game. Um, it was a sloppy game against the Panthers. I will say the Panthers aren't the Panthers that we knew, right? I don't think this is like an easy game anymore. We used to, chalk this up. Okay, it's the Panthers, easy dub. Same thing we used to do with the Jaguars. Um, so I want to give respect there. Both of their backs can easily be top 5 in the league in rushing. Matter of fact, at one point, both of them were in the top 5 in the league in rushing. So they're a really good running team, which really takes the pressure off of Young. So I think it's a really decent team that the Packers lost to this weekend. So I don't want to beat up on them too much, especially since their defense is still top 5. But I will say some of the stuff that we saw last season as far as inconsistency is creeping up, and we'll just see if they iron it out. I still think it's a 2-team race. I think they'll both make the playoffs, and I'm still going to back my preseason pick of the Packers winning the division.
Yeah. 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 Like the Panthers are not a walkover like they have been in the past. I agree with you. I'm pleasantly surprised. I love, like, on the flip side of this, I love seeing a team like the Panthers grind out a win like that.
Absolutely.
You know, on most Sundays, a team like the Panthers, they're not blowing out a team like the Packers, but to grind out a 3-point win is amazing. On the flip side, the Packers got to find a way to win that rock fight. Like they just do.
Yeah.
So I'm curious to see how that looks moving forward. All right, one more topic on my mind. If you have anything else, we can hit it, and then I want to get to trade deadline before we get to our picks for Week 10. Courtesy of FanDuel, well, not courtesy. If any sportsbook wants to make this a courtesy, you just get at me, and I'm yours.
Right.
Very easy, very easy. NFC West. The Rams plus 125 to win the division. They're 6-2. Seahawks also 6-2. They're plus 150. Niners 6-3 plus 350. Where are you going in this NFC West? Week after week, I liked the Rams to win this division. I said that in the preview. I like this Seahawks team, Joe. Yeah, and I know that the Washington football team Commanders, I know that they are beat up. I know that Jaden Daniels is out again. This time, maybe for the rest of the, I don't know how long he's out for, but he's out as of now. I know Lattimore, who's already been underperforming, he's banged up now. I know. But holy smokes, this Seahawks team, man. I like it. They add Shaheed at the deadline, which we're going to talk about in a few minutes. This Seahawks team, man, it's hard not to get caught up in the vibe that they're giving off right now.
Yeah, totally different vibe. And listen, before the season, I was giving them a lot of crap because they had basically just remade their whole like facility, like everything that was Legion of Boom related, they took down. They wanted to make it known that this was a new regime, that this is a new era of Seahawks football. And I just kind of looked at that and I felt the way. Because I was just like, why would you need to feel like you need to remove everything that happened before in order to establish a new, like, why would you feel like you need to strip the history of what this team was in order to, but anyway, that's just my own personal feeling on it. So that I felt the way about it. Now, as far as the team itself, like they felt super comfortable in moving on from Geno Smith. I mean, super comfortable. And they made it known that they were going in this direction as far as new era. So, right, the last little remnants of the team by the wayside. Lockett's gone. Geno Smith is gone. Now there's like very little you'd have to really search for the remnants of anything that was part of the Pete Carroll era of that team. And said, Mike McDonald said, all right, this is what we're going to do. We're going to get a guy who's just as hungry as the rest of us, to want to do well, to want to, win the division, get back into the playoff. and they went and made the move on Darnold. Okay, and who can blame him for that, right? The guy had an amazing season with the Vikings, reestablished his value, made it a point to show that, hey, I can play in this league. Okay, I know my resume with the Jets and the Panthers and backing up in the 49ers doesn't exactly script that I can play in this league, but damn it, I can play in this league. And he went on a tour with the Vikings to prove, hey, I can play in this league, and it parlayed him into a not a super long-term contract, but for him, it's the longest contract he's been on since his rookie contract. So kudos to him playing his way into starters money, and he's cooking. Like, I mean, when I
Mhm.
say he's cooking, like, every great chef that you could think of, like chef's kiss, brother. Like it's like he's in the kitchen with like Emeril Lagasse and Gordon Ramsay, and he's being taught the ways type cooking. That man didn't miss a pass for like a solid 14 passes, it felt like. And then they give him another wideout that could be a one anywhere else too.
I know.
Insane. Insane. The team totals for Seattle, if they haven't gone up yet, they're definitely going up now with what he has to play with on the offensive side of the ball. So listen, I think the defense is young. I do believe that there's some stalwarts on this team that might move on in the offseason. I think they may completely go youth movement on that whole deal, but they're playing solid. I mean, even when Daniels was in that game, they weren't in that game, if you know what I mean. Like, it was 38-7 before he got hurt, which is why everyone was so pissed he was still in the game with 5
Yeah,
minutes to go.
yeah.
So they were not in any way, shape, or form in that game, and that's a testament to the Seahawks defense. Okay. Um, I think when it's all said and done, um, this team may have what it takes to usurp the Rams. I went with the Rams preseason. I thought with the weapons that they had on offense and with my boys from FSU on defense, I thought that they would cook on both sides of the ball and there would be zero contest from anyone but this team that we're talking about. But they've upped the ante. Okay. They made a maybe not the seismic move like the Colts did with their move, but they made a significant move that said, hey, um, we're trying to win this division. We're trying to get a top seed. So kudos to them for that. I may be on the other side of the boat now. I may be on team 12. Um, I may be on the Seahawks now at this point.
And I love the one thing about, or a big thing about the Shaheed trade that I really love, is not just the player, because obviously he's a great player, great receiver.
Yeah.
That's obviously huge. What I love about it is you have a team that is 6-2, and you may feel like you don't have to change anything. You already got Darnold. That was a big change. You got a new coaching staff. That's a big change. I wouldn't call, Charbonnet and Kenneth Walker a two-headed monster, but they're just below that. I really like both those backs. I can rely on either of them in a big spot, I feel like. But you were able to see through, because listen, I thought this team would be good, okay? But 6-2 and looking as dominant as they are week after week,
Yeah.
I don't think anyone really saw that coming necessarily.
Yeah.
And so for you to see through the fog of this 8-week or 8-game success story and realize, hey, we need to add another piece here. I just love that. Like, JSN has just under 1,000 yards, right, already. There is no receiver on this team that has more. I think the number is 293. Like, the difference between JSN
Yeah.
and everybody else is astronomical. And the fact that you saw through the success on the football field and added another piece, I just think is brilliant. And I love it. Will it pan out? Yes, no, maybe so. I don't know. But I just really love the self-awareness to, yeah, we're 6-2. Yeah, we've been dominant, but this is our weakness and we're going to go out and fix it. I love it.
Yeah, and that wide receiver room, I don't think anyone could even like understand, because we saw Torrey Horton have a really good game this weekend, multiple touchdowns. He actually leads the team in touchdowns. Torrey Horton with 5. So for me, looking at that wide receiver room, now you have JSN, legit number 1, could be best in the league. I don't think anyone would argue with it, with what he's with how he's playing. And now you've got a Cooper Kupp and a Rashid Shaheed as complementary pieces to him. Like, Cooper Kupp is going to be the best number 3 in the league once
Oh, yeah.
healthy. Like,
Yeah.
he's very savvy with his route running. Puka Nacua attributes his route running to be cleaner because of the work he's put in the off season and in practices with Cooper Kupp when he was on the team. So third down situations just gets even more complicated now for defenses because Cooper Kupp is going to be really big. AJ Barner's mixing in there at tight end, also touchdown getter in the red zone. Like, they have so many options now on offense. They could take the top off of you. Intermediates between their wideouts covered. Short into long gains covered. Like, they are a huge problem. And I like what you said about them having the self-awareness that they needed another target getter, another person to fear on the offensive side of the ball. Now, granted, listen, JSN's been cooking all season, and he's had to have seen a double team or two while he's been cooking all season. Like, they've had to have had him on the bulletin board. So what he's doing in the midst of that is still pretty crazy, and we need to give him props for that. But now it opens him up even more because they may not be able to do that as much now with a guy that's going to be able to take the top off the field in Shaheed. So it may make JSN even better having a threat across from him that can take it deep on anybody.
Yeah, 100%. And with that, is there anything else from the week that you want to touch on?
Now, I think we can head into the trade discussions if you want.
So I don't know how this is going to, and I don't want to talk about the Jets long term here, like for a long time, but I'll just say this. And if you have anything to add, by all means. The fact that the Jets did what they did, traded 2 of their best defensive players, and brought in a haul. And I actually think that Mitchell, like the wideout Mitchell, bringing him in is actually kind of like underrated, like kind of the quiet part of all this. I actually think, giving him some new life and bringing him in, I actually really like that part of it. But getting rid of Sauce Gardner, Williams, bringing in 3 first-round picks, including your own, I love what they did. And I think it was a really good move. I think the Jets fans as a whole weren't really psyched on how Sauce Gardner has been playing over the last couple of years. And still very good. I think that the Colts paid too much, if I'm being honest. The part that gives me pause from the Jets side of it is we've not seen quite this movie, but we've seen this movie. How many times are you going to strip it down, get good players, get rid of good players, get picks, develop picks, trade picks, or picks not pan out, or whatever? You got to do it. What are you going to do with it? Are you going to get a quarterback through the draft. Is it actually going to be success? Like, just because the Jets are doing this doesn't mean it's actually going to work. But it was the right move and the right decision, in my opinion. Now, when we talk about the Colts getting Sauce Gardner, on the one hand, and I'm curious your thoughts on this, Joe. On the one hand, I love this. I love it. I love, and this is what I was referring to back at the beginning of the show, talking about how the NFL, the trade deadline just isn't like the other leagues. Specifically, we talked about baseball, how if you are a contending team, you are expected to bring in help. You are expected that your roster on October 1st is different than the roster that you brought 6 months prior. That's just the way baseball is. And I love this idea that you guys are 7-2. You're all of a sudden a really good football team. You think you have a chance, and you're going to go out and get what could potentially be one of the best corners in the league. Is he right now? I don't know, but he has that potential for sure. The price they gave up to get him, I feel like, is unnecessary. I don't think that it really would have cost that much, in my opinion. I also think that Daniel Jones has had a really good year. And despite the day he had a couple days ago, he's had a very good year.
Agreed.
Are you confident that you have the quarterback of the future, though? Like, are we confident that you found your guy? As much as I love to see what Daniel Jones has done, and as much as I think that he is for real this season, does this mean that I'm confident in him coming back next season and having the exact same year? No, not at all. And so, like, I don't know, man. I just think 2 first-round picks, I don't know. If you think you have your guy and you think DJ is going to be the guy, then great. But if you are not sure, if this is all about this season, then I think this is a big mistake. And by all accounts, and again, this is from people that I read and listen to and trust in the media world, the NFL draft is not, I have no level of wisdom or expertise on this, but based on what I have heard, the 27 draft is loaded, especially with wideouts and quarterbacks, from what I've heard. If that's true, then giving up that 27 pick, I don't know, man. This seems, I love it. I love going for it. But if you're doing this just for this one season, I don't love it. But on the surface, I do. But when I take a deeper look at it, I just don't know if this was the right move to give up that much of your future. What say you?
Okay. 2 things there. So one, the Packers did this in order to get Micah Parsons. So it's already been established, at least this season, that the market value for a defensive changing player, I guess, starts at the two first rounders. Now, only those 2 teams know if that deal could have gotten done without putting in the 2 first rounders. But we've already seen this earlier this season as far as a marquee player. The fact that they threw in a player also to boot is kind of insane to me. But at the same time, we knew AD Mitchell wasn't going to be getting any more playing time after his blunder earlier in the season. So smart of them to get that player as far as the Jets are concerned. Just because who knows what's going to happen with Wilson in the offseason. You may have said he's untouchable now, but seeing all of these other guys leave shop and head on out, maybe that makes you less inclined to want to stay here, especially since you don't know what the quarterback situation is going to be yet again for another year that you're with the Jets. So That might be something. Mind you, him and Fields are supposed to be boys from Ohio State. Well, he hasn't seen much of the Ohio State fields this season. So um we'll see what ends up happening there. I don't mind them going for it for one simple fact. They normally don't do this. They normally aren't the
That's
super
true.
buyers during this season. And it, it's showing that they're trying to maximize this opportunity right now because everything is kind of akin to what Seattle's doing in picking up Shaheed. They're seeing an opportunity to clearly make a splash this season. And another argument towards the are we doing it for this season? Gardner's Gardner's on contract. He's not a
That's true.
rental. He's on
Yeah.
contract for multiple years. So it's not a just now move. He comes with a hefty price tag on that contract, but you'd be amazed what happens when you flip a guy's schedule or in the standings from like 1 and forever to 7 and something and see what improved attitude and improved professional situation would do to spice up a guy's attitude. So I think you're gonna get a real hungry Sauce Gardner when he gets in here. I think you're gonna have two lockdown corners in Ward and Garner, which is just gonna make life on the back end so much easier. The pass rush is gonna love that because we already know that Indy doesn't really have like the pass rush that they had in the olden days, right? With your Freeneys and your Mathises, and they don't have that. So they need guys that can handle the number one and the number two on the other side. And they have one of the highest paid nickelbacks in Kenny Moore. So that means your 1, 2, and 3 are pretty as close to locked down as you can get. So that means that gives the pass rush a little bit more time to be like, hey, listen, we got guys that are going to cover back there. We just need to get home. Just get home. So if they have to get more, if Lou has to get more creative now with blitzes and such, he has the guys now in the back end to be able to handle their ones. So you may see a little bit more blitzing from him, knowing that he's got probably arguably one of the best in each of their respective positions in 1, 2, 3 corner situation. So that's going to help his confidence in calling blitzes and dialing up blitzes if he has to. So I love them going for it. I love the brain trust that they're trying to catch lightning in a bottle right now because they felt like they've had the talent this whole time and they've just not been maximizing it and they've just been missing the quarterback piece. And listen, the guys won a playoff game, okay? You can say what you want about his playoff game against the Vikings and what the Vikings always are when they get to the playoffs, but the guys won a playoff game. So is he going to be this guy for years to come? I don't know, but I know he's that guy right now. And I know that he has a history of winning in the playoffs. So why not give him the best chance to be there and win a game and maybe even more? So I love it. I love it.
Yeah, no, can't argue with that. All right. There's a lot of positive, or there's a few different positive. I love what the Eagles did. I love adding Jalen Phillips there. Adding Alexander. Listen, it's hard to really know exactly what he is right now. He went from being a premier corner to I don't really know. The talent's there, the potential's there. I think it might take a while just based on the nature of a Vic Fangio defense. It might take a little bit, but you can't argue with the name. It's obvious. You and I have talked about this ever since the preseason. It was an obvious hole that had to be filled. And so if you're just talking sheer names, adding Jalen Phillips and Jair, I think is just Howie doing Howie things, and I really like it. There's we already talked about Rashid. We got to talk about, as my computer promptly freezes. I like Jacoby Myers going to Jacksonville. I guess I don't really Jacksonville. It's whatever to me. It doesn't really move the needle at all for me. The Eagles also added Michael Carter II from the Jets. So obviously addressing things that they felt was the need. You talked about adding Kyle Duggar from the Patriots. The Patriots, another team, even talked about what they're doing. I love it. There's yes, some great moves. You know me. If I'm able to stay away from the positive and just go negative, I love it, and I'm gonna do it, and I'm gonna say my piece and let you cook and fix my stupid camera. What in the world are the Cowboys doing? Like, I am a Cowboys hater, and I'm always here for the Cowboys to self-destruct. But can you make any sense of this? Like, to me, you're 3-5-1. I know Williams is I know that he has term. Okay. I know he's going to be there for a little bit. This defense is not one player away. I just don't really understand what it is that Jerry's trying to accomplish. And it really drives me nuts. And something that I learned today that I didn't know, I'm sure you knew this, but I didn't know this. That first round pick that they sent, I believe it's a 2007, that 2027, that first round pick, the Jets can choose between the Cowboys 2027 and the Packers 2027 that they got from that the Cowboys got from the Packers, depending on which one is the higher pick, which I feel like is an extra spice to this deal that is like, why? Jerry, and again, I can't remember all the quotes. He had some quotes from Monday Night Football that were just priceless. Like, it was just so many quotes that were like, okay, if you didn't think that Jerry was the problem, these quotes have confirmed that Jerry is in fact the problem. On a complete separate side note, I was so happy, as someone who covers the Dallas Stars. I'm not from Dallas, but I've come to love the Dallas Stars. I've come to love their fan base, and I love covering this hockey team. And they announce that they have the outdoor game at AT&T Stadium, and of course they can't celebrate it without Jerry being present, since it is Jerry World. That bothered me, but anyway, I digress. I'm gonna go fix my camera. What say you about these moves that the Dallas Cowboys made? Because it wasn't just one.
Listen, the Logan deal, decent deal. Okay, you didn't give a whole lot to get him. The Bengals wanted him out of there. He wasn't playing over there. He wanted out of there. He's not the only defensive player that wants out of there, but so the Logan Wilson deal, he's a better coverage linebacker than any of the ones that they have. So he does definitely help in that area, especially if you're playing a lot of teams that have backs that have pass catching ability, you know, kind of like McCaffrey, or Barkley can catch out of the backfield too. He's definitely good as a coverage linebacker. So good improvement there. They're going to get Overshown back here pretty soon. So that's an addition just internally that will help the defense. Now as far as the Williams deal, for you to give up the compensation that essentially you got to from the Parsons deal is actually pretty insane, especially for a team that has like 7% chance of making it the playoffs at your where you're currently at right now. If this deal happens, if this deal happens maybe 2 weeks ago, okay, maybe your record's a little bit better and you have a little bit longer runway to see if you can make the postseason based on it. But at 3-5-1, it's actually pretty insane. To give it up for a guy that's about to be 28 and is in a really really hefty contract that he signs with the Jets. Um, and doesn't really. I feel like the cost of this trade is not going to match the production. Now, I'm not going to say that Williams is a bad player. He's a really good player. He's above average in pass rush metrics, in stopping the run metrics. Like, he's still a pretty solid player. But the guy you shipped out to get these picks is 2 years younger, nowhere near his prime yet, and has been a more productive player through the duration of his career compared to Quinnen. And you just gave that up on top of a player that you failed on, as far as a draft pick that missed for you, to get this one player. I think it's pretty psychotic, to be honest with you, and his head needs to be checked for having made this move. I don't like it at all, to be honest. Like, there's no part of this that I like, unless he has this unreasonable belief that Overshown coming back and um the combination of Logan Wilson and Williams is gonna be able to stop the passing yardage that they're giving up under siege every week. I just don't know why you make this move. I don't know why you make this move. Jacoby Brissett cooked on you this weekend. Jacoby Brissett. No offense, but this guy, he cooked on you. Like, completely cooked on you. And it's like, I don't know if these guys that he's investing in fixes that. I don't know that that fixes the problem. So we'll see what ends up happening. Hey, if they end up only allowing 10 points from here on out, then, great. I'm an idiot. That's fine. But I just don't see that happening. I just don't see it happening. And that's not just me, Giants fan speaking. It's not just me saying it. Just about all the talking heads are pretty much saying those things. But as far as some of the other moves going on, listen, the Chargers needed to pick up a tackle. They had to pick up a tackle, especially with the Steelers coming to town soon. They're going to be facing the two-headed monster of Highsmith and TJ Watt. So, listen, Penning's a solid pickup. Is he going to move the needle? No, not to me. But I mean, he's better than probably what they had. So he's going to fill one of those tackle spots, but they're still going to be hurting on the other side. So keep an eye on the Chargers. They're going to be, if they're smart, they're going to be going more to a run heavy offense. I think they need to switch the motif more to a more traditional Greg Roman style offense, and try 25, 30 carries a game between their stable of backs, because I just don't have faith in this line being able to protect Herbert moving forward with the loss of their tackles. I don't think Penning really moves the needle on that. They did get him for relatively nothing as far as a 6th-round pick, so that'll be good. What I will say about the Eagles move, as Mark alluded to here before, that it's going to be very interesting what they do moving forward. I think the pickup of Michael Carter III is going to be really, really important, because he was one of the kind of like marquee nickel backs in the league. So I think that allows them to try moving Cooper, DeJean to the outside, and have Mitchell and DeJean on the outside. Cooper has been mainly in the nickelback position, and that's he's been successful there. But their cornerback two situation has been a disaster between Adoree Mitchell and whatever cycle of players they've been putting on the outside. It's been an absolute disaster. So this move allows them to move Cooper to the outside. Michael Carter can handle the nickelback position. He's a really solid number 3 corner. So I think that'll help. We'll see what Jair Alexander has left in the tank. They pretty much got him for nothing also. So I think what they may do is just kind of like have a rotation in there. See which player plays the best in that position. But I think Jair was kind of like a value depth piece to add to the add to the equation there. So we'll see what happens. I think the pickup with Phillips is really, really important. They got Brandon Graham back out of retirement, so that's definitely going to improve their pass rush. I think it'll also lighten the load on Brandon Graham as he's coming back from retirement, so they won't have to depend on him as much. I think the addition of Phillips will allow him to keep him kind of like on a pitch count, so to speak. Maybe bring him in on third down. He could be like one of those pass rush specialists where he comes in on third downs on high leverage situations that can bring Brandon out there. And have him rush the passer. They've been Baltimore's done really, really well with Kyle Van Noy in that same kind of like situation where he's just strictly a pass rush specialist. He doesn't get exposed on run games and on early downs, lower leverage situations. They just bring him in. He does his thing on third and longs and, gets off the field. So I think they could use Brandon Graham similarly with the addition of Phillips, and then they have Jalen Carter in there. So I think it's a really pretty solid setup altogether from Philly. It allows them to be a little bit more flexible on their defense. And Howie, again, does it again, right? Operating in the margins, also taking advantage of situations. Miami was obviously going to be sellers, and they just put in the right price for Phillips to plug him away. I think it's a really smart move. Howie pretty much gave up nothing to get Jair Alexander, so that was a W move as well. So just a solid job by Howie, operating in the margins and not doing anything too crazy, but still finding a way to improve the team. I'll touch on this Raiders trade of Myers to the Jaguars. Me personally, doesn't really move the needle. I think this was just a hard reaction to Hunter being on IR, and I don't really think that Myers really fits the vibe there. I don't know, especially with the inconsistency at the quarterback position from Lawrence. I don't really think it's really going to move the needle as far as the Jaguars, him getting into them getting into a higher echelon. They're not catching the Colts. I'm just going to say it. They're not catching the Colts. So basically, this is just a move to try to get into the playoffs. And listen, if they sneak in, hey, shame on me, right? But it's going to be a first round exit, even if they sneak in. So I don't know that you do all of that when you think these two guys, as far as Brian Thomas Jr. and Travis Hunter, are supposed to be the futures of your team. Not unless you're planning on moving on from Brian Thomas after the season. But listen, Jacoby wanted a contract. That's why he wanted to trade from the Raiders. He wasn't going to give him. Is Jacksonville going to give him one? Because if not, then this is just essentially a rental. So don't know what's going to come of that there. But we'll see how that plays out there moving forward.
Yeah, I listened to all that. I love all that. Great insights on the Cowboys and on what you're saying about the Eagles. Listen, whether it hits, whether it doesn't hit, it was obvious holes that needed to be filled, and we'll see what happens. My apologies to everybody. My camera, just it is what it is tonight. This is just how it's going right now for me in this computer. So once again, as it feels like I say every week, the Mark Sauter Computer Fund. DM me. I'll give you my PayPal, and I appreciate it greatly. All right, let's move on and wrap up the show with our week 10 picks.
Let's go.
Getting started. We'll start off with you, man. 1 o'clock. In general, your prop picks have been spot on. Bit of a setback for you this week, as you tweeted out. I think it was yesterday or Monday. But it's a new week, new opportunity. Where are you going on Monday afternoon, 1 o'clock?
Yeah. So I picked up a really solid game. I love this this 1 o'clock game with is it Baltimore? Is that my 1 o'clock?
Yes, it is. Baltimore.
Yeah.
Thank you
We got
for
the
reminding me.
We got the
Yes.
Ravens visiting the Vikings in Minnesota, and listen, Baltimore on ESPN Bet is a -4.5 favorite. I love that, honestly. I think the Vikings did well last week, very surprising. But I think the Ravens are on a mission. Specifically, Lamar Jackson is on a mission. He's all about the business, all right? He got all the toys up out of the locker room. He said, "Listen, we ain't got time for games. The only games we have time for are the ones we're playing in on Sundays and Mondays and Thursdays, and you get it." So give me Baltimore -4.5. I just think they're gonna go on a tear. And listen, low key defense much improved. They're bringing Kyle Hamilton closer to the line of scrimmage. They've got Gilman back there on the back end. Malachi Starks is playing well on the back end. And their defense is a little bit improved. So I think they're going to be able to make some things a little uncomfortable for McCarthy and maybe confuse them a little bit. As far as my prop pick for the game, listen, they know that their best games and their best chances of winning is if we can get Henry as close to 100 yards as possible. Give me Derrick Henry over 76.5 rushing yards. His number was super high last week against the Dolphins. Guess what? He cashed, and he's going to cash again this week.
Yeah, I like that number. That's a nice low enough number where even if he doesn't get super close to the 100, you'd think he would clear that number. I like that a lot. I'm in a weird space with this Baltimore team. I like them to beat the Dolphins. I thought that -7.5 was high, even with everything that the Dolphins are. I haven't seen Jackson in a while. Obviously, Jackson's Jackson, but this defense has been Jekyll and Hyde. I haven't seen Jackson in a while. The -4.5 in Minnesota, I like. I don't know, man. There's just something scrappy about this Minnesota team that I'm kind of starting to appreciate, and I think that what we saw was that they did the best they could with the quarterback that was there. I think earlier in the show you talked about McCarthy taking a step away, kind of whatever. I haven't seen enough from the Baltimore defense to think that won't happen again this week. I'm taking the points with Minnesota here. I like Baltimore to win the game, but I think it will be a close, hard-fought game, and we'll see who comes out the other side. All right. Also, just to put it out there, where am I? Baltimore is -4.5, -106. Vikings -114, -215 on the money line on the Ravens, +180 on the money line for the Vikings. Over 48.5 is -115, and the under is -105. All right, my first game. This might be now. Eagles Packers Monday night. Not only is it my Eagles, but it's also that's like marquee matchup that's just tailor-made for Monday night. Eagles, Packers, huge game. Both teams battling for the 1 seed. It's going to be a big game. Patriots Bucks has become at one point in time sneaky, not so sneaky now though. We didn't talk about the Pats, but the Pats just keep winning ball games, man. And what I really appreciated about their win, first I'll actually just give out these numbers here. Patriots plus 2.5, minus 110, minus 2.5 for the Bucks is the same. Plus 120 for the Pats, minus 142 on the money line for the Bucks. 48.5 is the total, minus 104 for the over, minus 118 for the under. What I really appreciated about the Pats win on Sunday over the Falcons is that they probably should have lost that game. Not that the Falcons played incredible by any means. I thought it was a rough day for the Pats, and they found a way to win. And I just really appreciated it. Like, we've seen some pretty lopsided wins from the Patriots over the last few weeks. We've seen some, Drake May, oh my God. And I just felt like that wasn't this week. And they still found a way to win. They need to keep him upright. Like, I believe, I could be wrong about this, but I believe he has been sacked 17 times in the last 3 weeks, which, if that number is correct, that is absurd. Absurd. 17 times in 3 weeks. That he's a young quarterback. You don't need it. To say the least, you just don't need it. And I am not that concerns me. Now I kind of like, I would have loved to have seen them do something, maybe add another receiver, kind of do something more on like at the deadline. That being said, I wouldn't be surprised if they feel like they're overachieving a little bit and they don't want to rush the process and just kind of let this year play out and see what they do in the offseason. But then there's the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, where even though they're 6-2, I feel like the shine has kind of rubbed off of them a little bit. But this is my guy Baker Mayfield. That just a couple weeks ago we were all ranting and raving should be in the conversation for MVP. And so I'll be honest with you, man. I don't really know where to go with this game. I do like the over though. I think both of these offenses are going to go off. I can see a 31-27 type ball game. 27-24. I can see a high scoring football game. I'm leaning Pats, but I feel like that's pretty heavy recency bias, and I feel like the Bucks are the right pick here. But I am gonna go with the over. I do think there's a lot of points scored in this football game.
Yeah, I mean, as far as this game, I do agree that I think it's going to be a close game. I'm leaning the other way though. I'm leaning Patriots here because I think this is a story of two teams who you could say about some of the games that they've had this season, more on the Buccaneer side, that when you look at it, how many of those close games are the Bucks going to win, right? I feel like if they get into a close one in this particular game, I think they're going to lose one. And it wouldn't be a shame to lose to, a team like the Patriots. They're a solid team. And I think the Patriots, outside of that Bills game, you could look at their schedule and be like, okay, well, who have they beaten, right? There's going to be an argument of who of those teams have they beaten that, would say it was, a legitimate threat outside of just saying, hey, any given Sunday, I think this is a game that they could win. I think they have the horses to win. I'm not mad that they didn't do anything at the trade deadline because when I see them play, between Diggs, between Henry, Kayshawn Booty. He actually turned into a dude. Like, he's actually really good. So I'm like, oh, he's played so well that they didn't overpay for any receivers that might have been available. I don't know what the price tag, um, were on some of these guys like Waddle and that didn't end up moving. Um, but I'm kind of actually good with them staying packed and them not overspending on improving the team, because the team's already good. So that all being said, I think in a close one, I think New England takes it. Um, I'm gonna take them plus the points just in case. But my stat for this week, the Patriots are super stout against the run. So if it's going to be a high scoring affair, it's going to be from Mayfield's arm. It's not going to be from the back. So give me Rashad White under 47.5 rushing yards, even against teams that have lesser defenses. I've only seen him eclipse that number twice. So I think it's a safe bet to take his under this week. But give me the Pats plus points.
And before we move on, I heard rumblings Bucky Irving is back this week. Do we know?
I don't know for sure.
Because if he is, then hit that number like right now.
He was not in practice, nor was Godwin. He was not seen in the visible portion, like the parts the media gets to see. Him or Godwin were unseen.
True. Yeah. I like that play very much. All right, moving on. Rams, your next game. Rams, San Francisco, -4.5 are the Rams at -110. +4.5 for the Niners is the same. -225 on the money line for the Rams. And I understand all the injuries. I understand why the Rams are favored. -225 in San Fran seems a little rich for me. I would bet the money line, but it seems a little much. +188 for the Niners. Over 49.5 at -115, and the under is -105. This is your game. Where are you at, Rams, Niners?
I'm taking the Rams -4 here. I think this is a typical split here. Wasn't that long ago that they faced each other and they lost a very winnable game, 26-23. I just think with the only difference between then and now is that they have more injuries than they have at that game. So yeah, I think they're going to be tough to stop on offense. They have an absence of pass rushing now with Mikael Williams down, their star rookie. So where's pass rush coming from? So if that's the case, then that means Stafford is going to cook. And then when they had more players available to him in the last game, Stafford cooked for like almost 400 yards. So for me, that's a solid Rams -4. And I'm taking Stafford's over in passing yards, which is set at 267.5. Like I said, with more players on the field for the Niners, he almost hit 400. So with less star talent on the field, he can't do less than 50, 60 yards different.
Yeah, I can't argue with that play as well. Yeah, and it's weird, man. Like I don't know. I can't explain it. The amount that I love what the Seahawks are doing right now is taking away my love for the Rams, and it's nothing the Rams have done. I'm just very impressed with the Seahawks, but the Rams are still a contender. I think they're a Super Bowl contender, and we'll see what happens. I'm right there with you, though. I don't know. I might look to tease that down just a little bit. I might look at a bit of a juicier number, but like -3.5, -2.5, depending. But there's just something, despite all the injuries, and the Niners at home being that heavy of underdogs, like something about it smells to me. Like,
you feel it.
something smells funny.
Yeah.
It's some deli meat that's been in the fridge a week too long, and you can't. It's a little slimy, but it tastes okay. I don't know. There's something weird about it. All right. Moving on. We're going to hit up Arizona at Seattle. And this has turned into a really fun game, despite what is going on with the quarterback room for the Cardinals. This has turned into a fun game. Seahawks at home -6.5 at -115, +6.5 for the Cardinals, -105, -310 on the money line for the Hawks, +250 for the Cardinals. The total is 45.5 at -105 is the over, -115 for the under. Now, this feels like a Seahawks -6.5 play. However, it feels like a touchdown game. You know what I mean? Like, I think this game is going to be closer than people may think. Like, it feels like a 28-21, or whatever, 34-27. Like, it feels like it's going to be a close game. But I still think the Seahawks win by a touchdown.
Yeah, listen, it was 23-20 in the last game. But for me, the way Seattle's playing right now recently is they are on another level right now on offense. And where the Cardinals can get got is in the pass game. They're in the bottom half of the league on defense and yards allowed, as far as passing yards is. And for me, he's going to have a new toy to play with in Rashid Shaheed. And that means that Buda Baker is going to have a lot of work to do. Okay. He can't shade one side or the other anymore, because both are capable of getting got. So it's going to put that back end in a little bit of a conundrum, a little bit more than normal. And I think because of that, it's I think A, it's going to be a high scoring game. And B, I think it's at least a touchdown victory. Either way it goes, it's at least a touchdown victory. And that also being said, Kyler Murray was the quarterback in that last game too. And Brissett's obviously been operating the offense much better for the Cardinals. So that's another reason why I think we're going to have a high scoring game. Yeah. So give me Seattle -6.5. I think they win by at least a touchdown. And I'm taking Sam Darnold's over in passing yards at 259.5. I just think that with his new toys, it's gonna be, they're gonna have to pick their poison. And I think they have so many weapons out there now. They're 4 deep at the wide receiver position, which is crazy. Okay, they got Torrey Horton. Again, like I said before, leads the team in touchdowns at 5. They've got Cooper Kupp. I don't know if he's going to be back yet. We'll keep an eye out on that. But even so, Rashid Shaheed, JSN, Torrey Horton, three-headed monster. AJ Barner on the goal line in the red zone area. He's got 5 touchdowns himself. So I think there's just too many weapons for Darnold to play with, and he's so accurate right now. I don't think he's going to be able to be stopped.
Yeah, and with that, just hearing you talk about it, I really like that total. I like the over too, because if it was 23-20 and what you said about Brissett, it is true that the offense just looks better right now. And the Seahawks are just a smoother operation right now than they were when they beat the Cardinals on that Monday night, if I believe, or Thursday night. So I can see it going over 45.5 as well. Breaking news in the hockey world, if anyone cares at all. And if you're watching on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, then you already know this, but Alex Ovechkin scores career goal 900.
Let's go.
Very cool. Very cool. Very cool moment. Very cool moment. All right. Moving on. Pittsburgh Chargers. Now, we talked about Pittsburgh at the beginning of the show. I'm curious to hear what you have to say about this game, because I feel like, as far as the conversation goes, the Chargers are taking a back seat right now. Like I feel, and maybe that's just me. Maybe that's just like me and the like media that I digest. Maybe this isn't true, but it feels like with the way that Denver cannot win a game without trying their best to give it away and then coming back and doing something heroic and winning a game. The Chiefs are the Chiefs. The Chargers are 6-3, just going about their business. Now, should they have won against the Titans by a bit more than a touchdown? Sure. Semantics. They won the game. They're doing their thing. They are -3 favored in LA for what is essentially a road game. That. However, like it feels like the Steelers fans are going to show up in droves for this game. However, the Charger fan attendance has been up this year, at least what it seems like watching on television. Another Sunday night football game for the Steelers. Not too sure what they deserved to have all these Sunday night games besides having Rodgers, I guess. -152 on the money line for the Chargers, +128 for the Steelers, -3. Chargers are -106, -114 for the Steelers. Over 4.5 is -102, and the under is -120. I don't have a strong lean one way or the other. I feel like Pittsburgh, we kind of know, like we talked about it already, like we kind of know what they are. You know, the offense looks good. The defense looked good last week, but overall hasn't looked good. They're coached by Mike Tomlin. They're going to be over 500. They're going to be in the mix for the division, obviously. You can blame that on the injuries by Cincinnati and by Baltimore, but regardless, they're going to be in the mix for the division. Are they going to be in the mix for a playoff spot beyond the division? I don't know. I feel like this is a somewhat, and maybe I'm being a bit dramatic by this, but I feel like this is somewhat of a statement game for the Chargers. I feel like this is a game where you're 6-3. You lose this game, it feels like you're trending towards the mediocre Chargers that we all know and love. You win this game, you're now 7-3. You're keeping pace with the division. It feels like a big game for the Chargers. And again, maybe that's just me. I don't feel strongly one way or the other, but my gut is telling me that the Chargers find a way to win this football game. Taking the Chargers -3. I think that they get the job done. They go up 7-3 after week 10.
Yeah, I took a deep look in this game, and the one thing that stands out to me is the strength of the Steelers defense is their defensive line. And the problem for the Chargers in that area is that both of their starting tackles are gone for the year. Now, they made a trade and picking up a safety tackle, and then that tackle listen, Trevor's he's okay. Is he better than what they have? Yes. Can he play both tackle positions? Yes. Can he play them both at the same time? No. Which is why I think the Steelers win the game. I think Herbert's going to be under duress. I think that it's going to force him into off-platform situations. Now he's a decent runner. He has proven it this season to where, when he has to get yards, he can get yards. But the problem is going to be that it may force him into bad decisions, and he does have 8 interceptions so far this season. So with that being said, I think because of the pressure, he's going to be a little bit more under siege than he'd like, and may throw a couple to the Steelers to get them to win the game. Now, do I feel strongly enough to take them without the points? Not quite. I'm going to take the Steelers plus the points just in case. With that being said, I think they're going to try to run the football, the Chargers, just to keep the balance and try to keep the pass rushers off balance. And Kamani Vidal, he does this neat thing where like he has a good game and then he has a bad game and then he has a good game and then a bad game. And against the Titans, he had a bad game. So that means he's going to have a good game this week. So I'm taking his over 58.5 rushing yards.
Love it. Absolutely love it. All right, let's wrap up the show. It's been a long one. It's been a great one. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. As always, tuning in throughout the week. First Round Collectibles, promo code SPORTS10 for 10% off your order, including sales items up to 60% off selected cards with promo code SPORTS10. FirstRoundCollectibles.com. Total Apex Sports, Total Apex Media as well. Always appreciate them letting us or having us on board. I'm trying to think of what the frig I say there. All right. One of these days I'll write them down and it'll all be smooth. All right. Philadelphia, Green Bay. The Packers are favored 2.5, -110. Eagles +2.5 is the same. -136 on the Packers, +116 for the Eagles, both on the money line, of course. Over 44.5 at -110 both ways. I'm an Eagles fan, clearly. I based on my headwear, I love the trades that they made. Again, we talked about it. I think just with the complexity of a Vic Fangio defense, I feel like it's going to take time before we really see. I think it's really going to pay dividends in the long run. I don't know what this is going to look like short term. We have had a week off of Philly football. The last win was against the Giants, and it left a pleasant taste in all of our mouths. However, there's been some weird games kind of thrown in there as well. Green Bay, so awful against the Panthers offensively, so inconsistent, coming off a really impressive win against the Steelers. I think the Packers win this football game. I just think you're adding 3 big pieces on defense. I think it's going to take time to gel. Brandon Graham is back. I think that's going to take time to kind of prove what that means. I think he's going to be fine. I think he's going to be really effective. But I also think that he hasn't played football in a while. And I think it's going to take a bit for him to be kind of in full swing. We don't know what's going on with AJ Brown. He's been out the last few weeks. He's been updated from out to questionable. We'll see what that means. I think that with AJ Brown out, he has Jalen Hurts has refound his love for Devontae Smith, and they've been connecting on some crazy passes. Barkley really broke out last game against the Giants, which is something we've been waiting for. I think the emergence, and again, with Brown being out, I think the emergence of Dallas Goedert has like Dallas Goedert is one of the best tight ends in the National Football League. And I feel like it just gets glossed over constantly because the Eagles have so many weapons throughout the years that it's kind of like all of a sudden Dallas Goedert has a game where he has 2 touchdowns, 116 yards. And it's like, oh yeah, Dallas Goedert, this guy, he's on the yeah, oh yeah, he's one of the best in the league. Incredible. Something is weird with AJ Brown in the game right now. I love AJ Brown. I think they will figure it out. This team has been to 2 Super Bowls in the last 3 years, all with AJ Brown, Devontae Smith, and Dallas Goedert. They'll figure it out, but it's been easier to find weapons because there's always this heightened, like, if we don't give AJ Brown the ball, he's going to be reading like Twilight on the sidelines. Like, you gotta figure this out. Right?
Not the Twilight.
Now, I love AJ Brown. I have
Oh man.
an AJ Brown jersey. He's my guy. But that's just what we've seen this year. So I don't know what to expect from this offense. I think that they had a really good game against the Giants. I also think that the Packers have been just wildly inconsistent, which the more that I talk, the more I'm starting to convince myself that the Eagles are going to win. So I'm going to stop talking, stick to my pick, Packers minus 2.5.
Wow. It this is wild. The Eagles Eagles fan is picking the Packers and the Giants fan is picking the Eagles. This is Eagles all day for me.
Oh, I love one of us is. I love one of us
This
is.
is Eagles all day for me, and I'll tell you why. So some of the issues that that we've all had, including Packers fans, had with like kind of like Love's inconsistency at the quarterback position are starting to creep up again. We're starting to see some turnovers here and there, and they're starting to creep up. There were like 4 possessions. There was like a turnover on downs, a fumble, an interception, missed field goal, anything that could happen negatively on offense felt like it happened to the Packers against the Panthers. Now, something I wanted to touch on what you said about the improvements they made on defense. Funnily enough, the great thing about the Phillips trade is that Phillips has already worked under Vic Fangio in the Dolphins when
true.
he was DC, and he had 6.5 sacks in 8 games under Fangio before he tore his leg up. So he's gonna have almost little to no transition over to that defense. If anything, he just has to unlearn the bad habits he got from the Dolphins and get locked back in Vic's defense.
Right.
But he's young enough to where he probably retained that information, and it should be a pretty quick transition for him. So I'm actually very encouraged about what they're able to do. And also on the Packers side, that's to their detriment. Tucker's gone for the year. There's no Tucker Kraft. So the tight end position is going to be a little questionable as well. And while I do like Musgrave, I Kraft was easily like a shade below Bowers in what he was starting to produce with the chemistry that he had with Love. So very unfortunate. I hate that it happened. But that for me is like the difference between this being a Philly win and a Green Bay win because of the adjustments that they're making on defense. They're gonna have a little bit more of a pass rush. We'll see how much Brandon Graham has left in the tank, but we got a guy coming into the system in Phillips that knows the Vic Fangio defense, and he's gonna be able to slot right in. So that means you got Carter, rotation of Carter, Graham, Phillips. We're moving Cooper to the outside, having Michael Carter third in the inside. At the slot, which is where he specializes in. Cooper traditionally has been in the inside for the Eagles, but moving him to the outside where he played in college should be just fine and easy transition for him. So I think they'll be able to lock up better defensively without that second corner being under siege all the time. And in the event that, someone gets tired or you want to throw in a little flavor, you got Jair Alexander also on the squad. So I think this is Philly all day for me. Give me Philly plus the points. And I'm going to take Saquon Barkley's under 77.5 rushing yards. He had a great game last week, but it was against the Giants, who are going nowhere fast. Green Bay is top 5, top 6, I believe, against the rush. I think they'll be able to keep him under wraps as far as the rushing is concerned. So I figure him to be somewhere in the 60 to 70 range. He'll get the carries, he'll get the volume. He's just not going to be able to produce against that front. But I think this is going to be a Hurts day.
Yeah, I changed my pick. I completely forgot about Tucker Kraft. That's a rookie mistake on my part. I completely forgot about that. I think that is enough for me to change my pick because you said it, man. What Tucker Kraft has meant to this offense has turned into like necessary, like important, what he's been able to do and what he's blossomed into. And I really, I still believe what I believe. I hear what you're saying. You're a smarter football mind than I am. I still believe what I believe about the defense. I still think it might be kind of learning on the fly, not the smoothest operation for the Eagles defense. However, I think that Tucker Kraft was the guy that was going to be able to exploit that. And I'm with you. I like Musgraves as well, but I don't think he'll be able to exploit it as well as Tucker Kraft could have. And I do agree with you. I look like, as an Eagles fan, the Tucker Kraft injury, you never wish injury on anybody. However, it helps the Eagles in the long run, clearly. I really liked his story. I really liked what he was doing with the Packers. I really liked watching him play. It really does suck, but yeah, that's enough for me to pick the Eagles -2 or +2. Not even money line +116. Absolutely love it. All right, everybody. Thank you once again so much for hanging out with us. We appreciate it as always. We will be back next. Actually, Joe doesn't know this, but we have to talk about when we're going to be back next week. I have something coming up. I have something. I have an engagement on Wednesday. We will talk. We'll let you know. Stay tuned to both of our Twitter accounts, and we will be in touch starting next Monday. Just to give everybody a little taste of what's going on. Starting next Monday, we will be doing the hockey show every other Monday. On the Monday, and that'll be with rotating guests. Every other Monday, when we're not doing the hockey show, we'll be doing a basketball show, and that'll be with my guy Tom Brown that I did the baseball show with. He will be with me doing basketball, and we're going to bring in some other guests as well. Joe doesn't know this either, but I'll be bugging him to come on every once in a while, and we're going to talk some basketball. So that's the new programming. Every other Monday hockey, every other Monday basketball, and on Wednesdays will be the NFL show until the end of the season. So everybody, thank you so much for hanging out. Good luck on your bets. Joe, thanks for hanging out, my brother. Once again, First Round Collectibles, promo code SPORTS10 for 10% off your order, up to 60% off sales items, and Total Apex Sports, Total Apex Media. Check out all the great stuff they have going on. We'll see you next time.